Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whichever part of the world you are dialing in from. It'll be interesting if you can just type into the chat box where you are calling in from. That'd be wonderful. My name is Raja Rajamannar. I'm the Chief Marketing and Communications Officer of MasterCard, and I'm also the president of the company's healthcare business. And I have written a book, now it's almost 2 years, called Quantum Marketing, which went on to become a Wall Street Journal bestseller, has won 6 international book awards, and has been published now in 9 languages, the most recent one being in Japanese. So I feel very blessed about it. And the whole book is about how our world is dramatically transforming itself through a deluge of technologies, the data revolution that is happening, and the tectonic shifts in the cultures around the world. And that really requires us to take a relook at marketing, because most of the frameworks and principles of marketing have been formulated more than 60, 70 years back. And we are still following those very same principles and structures. Some of those are indeed timeless and they're universal, but there is a lot of need for us to reinvent and reimagine every single aspect of marketing. And that's something which is going to be very critical. So my book was essentially all about that. And what basically I have started doing as a follow-up to the book, and based on the success of the book and the kind of engagement I was fortunate to have with my readers, was to start a blog on LinkedIn called Quantum Marketing Sense. And now it has crossed 100,000 subscribers, and I feel again very good about it, and have been having a lot of good positive feedback and engagement with folks. And as a further extension of that, I started Quantum Marketing Sense Live. These are the LinkedIn Live sessions that I'm doing, and today is my 13th session. And what I try to do here is to take one aspect of quantum marketing and to bring it to life in a fashion where it's not me just giving a lecture about it, but actually having a conversation with somebody who is at the top of their game in that field. And whether it is in behavioral economics or in metaverse or in technologies like artificial intelligence and so on. And today, we're actually taking a slightly different approach, which is we're getting somebody from the world of music. And this is going to be very exciting, because what's the connection between quantum marketing and music, you might ask? And it's very clear. First and foremost, I keep talking about advertising as we know it is dead. We need to find new ways of connecting with consumers and engaging with them. One of those is through people's passions. Find out what people's passions are, understand them very scientifically and very deeply, and figure out ways of how your brands or your companies can tap into those passions in an authentic fashion and connect with the consumer in a compelling and an impactful way. Now, in theory, this sounds fantastic, but in practice, it's very difficult, very expensive sometimes if you don't know what to do. And I have been actually experimenting these at MasterCard for the last almost now 8, 9 years. And the results have been nothing short of being astounding. And I feel very grateful that these things really work and the hypotheses are proving themselves out. So music is one of the biggest universal passions. The exact type of music might be differently appreciated by different folks around the world. The music which appeals in India may be a little different than the music which appeals in the US or in Brazil or in China or wherever else it is, but music is there. There is something unique about sound. There is something unique about voice. There is something unique about music that touches each and every one of us very deeply. You need to go no further than to just look at, for example, a horror film with the volume completely turned down. You don't get the feeling of fear, anxiety, or tension. But the moment the volume starts going up, you see there is a direct correlation to how the stress and the pressure goes up. And at some point, it peaks off and then it starts coming down. So there is actually like a inverted U curve of how the emotion works with the volume in a given visual setting. And so to explore some of these kind of things, it's my pleasure and privilege to have YolanDa on this call today. YolanDa, welcome to you, and delighted to have you on this call. Now, before you start off, so YolanDa, just a little bit of an introduction to her. She's an accomplished saxophonist. She has toured around the world. She has been a BBC broadcaster, and she has even been appointed as an officer of the Order of the British Empire. And now she's also the chairperson of the BPI, which is the preeminent music organization within the United Kingdom and one of the most prestigious and reputed organizations anywhere in the world. And this is also the a trade association for music across the UK. Yolanda, it's actually brilliant to see someone who has turned their passion of music into a profession. And in a way that it is not just about, making money out of the thing, but actually really making a difference in the whole world. And therefore, it is fantastic. And, under your auspices at the BPI, you're also leading the Brits. So for the benefit of our audience, which is more global, can you just talk a little bit about what BPI is and what Brits are?
Oh, well, thank you so much for that introduction and for having me. It's really lovely to be here with you. And I'm a big fan of everything that you've just said, and passion being the operative word. I think the main thing for me is I love music. I play the saxophone. I'm self-taught on the instrument and love to play my passion, play and communicate with an audience. And I think that led me to really want other people to feel music in the same way. I think we're taught or we're guided to enjoy music a certain way as we grow. We're taught to choose a team, if you like, choose a genre, who's your favorite artist. And it all kind of narrows as we get older. And I think that I'm trying to undo some of that learning. So to finally be asked to put my hat into the ring for chair of the BPI, who, as you say, represents the entire UK recorded music industry, it was a no-brainer for me to be able to be around that table and lead in that way. It's been fantastic so far. Still quite new, 6 months, but absolutely fantastic. The BPI, we make sure that we look after our members and make sure that we're looking into all of their interests, the members being over 500 independent record labels and the 3 major record labels, Universal, Sony and Warner. And through all of those, they make up 85% of the music sold in the UK. So it's really great to have the ear and sort of the hearing the needs of the music industry, if you like. And then you tapped the nail right on the head there. We have this amazing celebration of music every year with the Brits, with MasterCard. And we absolutely, it's a highlight of the year for the industry, a chance to celebrate each other, see each other, and of course, show the world what British music can do, the power of British music, as well, looking at content protection, sort of the office job of the BPI, the everyday stuff, content protection, making sure that, members get to know each other and mix and mingle, making sure that music is exported well across the globe, and so many other aspects of just making sure that British music is celebrated around the world.
It's absolutely fabulous, and I have had the privilege of attending the Brits for a number of years now. And MasterCard itself, I believe, has been associated for 25 years.
25 years.
So it's been concurrent with our Priceless campaign. So it's been a fascinating journey. And I think it's probably one of the best music events that I actually have attended ever. And in fact, just this last week, I was at the Grammy Awards, 2 days back. And that was a fascinating experience as well. But these are the kind of things which bring music to the fore and give the artists, the record labels, the fans, and the brands, all of us to get together. And that's a fabulous, fabulous thing. Now, one of the key things is when I have also personally done a lot of research into the science of sound, science of music, science of voice, etc. There are some voices, like Morgan Freeman's, which has got a magical effect on you. Yeah. Literally the voice of the gods, so to speak. And then you have got things like, various types of music, which really touch you at a very, very deep level. And, in terms of whether it is a tune, the melody, the voice, the rhythm, each one has got a different way of bringing the emotion out. And it connects also people when there is the passion, and music is one of those biggest ones. And during, for example, the pandemic, we saw people come out in the balconies and start singing. It was really touching, and it was absolutely fantastic. Now, what is it about music from your side as an artist and as the head of the music industry, literally for the UK? What is it about music that touches us so deeply?
I think music is a universal language. It's about connection. And it is a way, if we allow ourselves to feel, it is a way to communicate with each other. And I think, when life is busy and everything is happening so fast, we forget that sometimes. And I think the pandemic really brought that out in everybody. When we couldn't leave our homes, we couldn't see each other. How else to communicate without having to say how we're feeling, say the anxiety, say the fear? We were able to exchange through music. You saw sort of choirs coming together online. Forget the latency. It's okay. We're getting there with the technology, but seeing people come together and just make music together. I'm also a presenter for a CBB show called YolanDa's Band Jam for the preschool years. And seeing young people you could grab anything, a spoon and a cup, and bang it. And then with the rest of the family, you start, a bit of a disco and start dancing and listening to music. And I think it was a great outlet without having to say anything, without having to say, I'm scared, or, I don't know what is happening. I'm confused. It was a great outlet, whether it's playing your favorite piece of music, listening to a podcast, that's also very audio, without having to say anything. It's a great way to engage and just feel without having to register it with our language, which can be quite limiting sometimes.
Yeah, so true. In fact, the way, actually, when you look at the neurology of how the brain receives, music and sounds, etc., one thing which has been clearly established is that music can create a very powerful set of memories and associations, right? And in many cases, the consumer's recall about music is far stronger than the visual recall. It's fascinating. If you look at all the 5 senses, and we call it the multisensory marketing approach, it is sound which actually creates a deeper impact on people than the visuals. So it is little ironical that even today, as marketers, we focus a lot on the visual, and sound is only like a filler in the background. You find some nice music, you just sort of slap it as a background to your advertisements and things like that. Whereas actually in reality, it should be the other way around. Given the very, how the neurology works in terms of the, how the brain processes different sound signals versus different visual signals. Now, why do you think sound plays such an important role in shaping our emotions and behavior from your perspective?
Well, this is something that I actually started researching a little bit deeper after I had my children. I've got 2 daughters. I've got a soon-to-be 9-year-old on Friday and a 3-year-old. And at my first pregnancy, I thought it was a fluke. And then when I had my second daughter, I realized I need to read up on this. So as you know, I'm a touring musician and an independent musician as that. So we keep touring until babies are really, I was touring until 9 months pregnant with both of them. And I realized, and it was almost like my little secret, every time I played a specific song, thankfully one of my own, the baby would start to move and move in sort of a way that felt like dancing. Then once baby was born and she came on tour, we're a touring family, she would have the same reaction. I'd be told by my husband or my mom or my dad, who was looking after her at the time, that she would either wake up or have the same reaction to that specific song. So I thought, how is this happening, that a baby in the womb, so apparently from 6-7 months, you can hear outside of the womb, can have a reaction to sound, and yet have that reaction once born? It just shows that when you talk about senses, it is such an important sense. And then when you see a child listen to music, again, sort of pulling from my children presenting experience, they feel free. They hear music, they start to dance, or they hear music and, I feel sad, or this is making me excited. They can literally put into words what sound is doing to them. As we get older, it's kind of like, no, don't tell people that. Oh, actually, how is everybody else responding? And so then we're taught to kind of numb that. And I do find that with marketing, the campaigns that have the most success are the ones that resonate with the audience. Sometimes you'll be in the shower and you're humming the tune from an advert. That's when you've really resonated. And they're not remembering necessarily the visual. They're not remembering what somebody was wearing. They're remembering the audio. So I think it just goes to show how important it is, how we remember sound. So many people tell me I'm not musical, and yet they will hum a song that they remember from childhood, So everybody has that musical ear. Everybody has that sonic ear. And that's what we need to always bring it back to, that primitive sense, I think.
It's so true. Even for example, in India, when I was growing up, English was not my native tongue. It was not my mother tongue. And however, some of the advertisements used to be in English. And very young, very early in my childhood, I did not know how to speak English because we used to speak a language called Telugu at home. But I used to actually hum those and even say the words without understanding what the words were meaning. Yes. In tune with whatever they had in the jingle. Even till now, I can remember every single jingle that I have heard in my childhood, whether it was a Coca-Cola jingle or it was some pump set for a company called Kirloskar in India. And I still remember them very, very distinctively, and they have been etched. Now, if you ask me what was there visually in those ads, I don't recollect, but I recollect the sounds, right? And but what we have discovered in our research is, and I have been working with a number of sound and music researchers, specifically, is that it's not just the jingle. There are layers of music and different types of manifestation of sound that can create a profound impact and a connection with the audiences. And so this is what I try to do in my day job at MasterCard, coming up with our entire sonic branding strategy, which is an architecture of 10 different layers. And jingle is not, it's just one tiny element of the entire set of possibilities. And so it's extremely exciting, and I'm really thrilled with that. Now, one of the things from your perspective, both as a consumer as well as a musician, what lessons do you think brands have to take based on what you have observed? Because you are close to the commercial realities. You are also close to artists. You're also an artist yourself. And of course, you are most tuned into what your fans like. So as a brand, when we are looking to incorporate music, how do you think we should be looking at? What lessons are there from your perspective?
Well, I think that the first thing is to make sure you spend time, make sure within all of it, you do spend time on the music. And it's the same. I've worked as a musician with animation, making theme tunes, doing underscore, which you spoke earlier about for horror movies. Even with underscore for animation, it's very intricate. You don't want to get in the way of the dialogue, but you also want somebody to feel a certain way, and make sure that people are hearing and feeling, and you're delving into the passion of the music to go along with any campaign. And I think it's also important to make sure that any music that you do end up using, you speak to the creators. And I think that's really important. It's not often, sometimes just get music from a library. Sometimes it's nice to speak to the creator and try to understand what was going into the music that was being made. In a similar way, touring the world and playing in non-English speaking countries. Also, I play the saxophone, which doesn't need words, thankfully. But I'm writing and composing music with a story in my mind. And when I'm playing it and improvising, I have a story that I'm trying to communicate with the audience. And so to be able to play to an audience and then later on them tell me what they understood from my playing without any words exchanging just goes to show how powerful that is. But do make sure that the creators understand what the product is, and then it does help with the music.
Totally get it. No, and also, one more thing is interesting. There are creative aspects of music, and there are scientific aspects of music, and then there is a technology aspect of music. Yeah. Now, the technologies are all really coming at us like a tsunami, and like I've mentioned, there is artificial intelligence, there is virtual reality, there are smart speakers, Internet of Things, wearables. It's literally 24 technologies are coming at us, and that's going to be significantly altering how people start engaging with each other and with their environments and so on. And also there is a little bit of a sound revolution that is happening very interestingly. And when I say sound revolution, the use of sound for a variety of things, like you're talking about podcasts. Podcast was not a phenomena 5-10 years back, but today it's a huge thing, right? On the one hand, you've got audio only media like smart speakers, and you've got wearables. These are all working through much more via sound as opposed to the visual. And marketers need to be present in those kind of emerging media. And also, in fact, I read a statistic about the British people that apparently more than 1/3 of the British people discover new music and discover new artists through social media.
Yes.
Right? And when you look at all this, and as marketers, these are nuggets that we have to be able to tap into and connect the dots in a way that makes a difference for our brands. And the ecosystem for the musicians has therefore also changed. And Do you see any parallels here of how brands can effectively use sound and music to bring people together, to bring the ecosystems together? Can you just talk a little bit about it?
Yeah, I think it's really great that technology keeps pushing us. It keeps evolving us. We listen to music in different ways. If you think even sort of 20 years ago, maybe even earlier, to listen to music, you had to be at home with a player, putting it on, and then being a captive audience, if you like. So now, I mean, I was at the gym last week and finally got to have a little bit of a sauna, and a gentleman walked in with his earpods on in the sauna. I thought, this is a time for a relaxation, and all I can hear is you know, and you just think people are listening to music in so many different ways. Yes, social media, even I've done it myself, you know, watching somebody, I don't know, doing a Christmas tree reveal, but then you think, oh, what song was that? You know, and it's such a different way for artists to get their music out to the audience, as well as brands as well. And I think with this influx of technology and different ways of making music, I think we also need to be sensitive to the creators. I said that before, but be sensitive to the creators. There's technology now that can listen to a hit song, be it Adele or whoever's top of the charts at the time, listen to the nuance, probably the 10 levels that you're talking about, and create a song, you know, off of the sort of the effects of that. And, you know, as the BPI, we're really interested and excited about technology, but we also want to look after the industry, make sure that the rights are looked after, make sure people are getting credited where they should be due. And it's not about stopping technology. We were scared of CDs, you know, then we were scared of streaming. Yes, it's about evolution, but we need to make sure that we keep protecting the people that are creating and protecting the listeners as well, because we're not always aware that marketing is taking place, actually. It's becoming a lot more subtle. And I think even brands need to be aware that you don't want to bamboozle the audience. You want them to feel passionate, feel engaged, but you don't want them to feel tricked. And I think we need to make sure that we toe the line well there.
That's so true. In fact, you know, one of the saddest things right now in the music industry, as I see, and you know 1,000 times more than what I can even begin to learn, I think artists are actually shortchanged somewhat in our current way, how the industry ecosystem is. And if you're a new artist, how do you even create the music and be discovered for your music easily? Because there's tons of talent out there which just lies in the shadows and they never get the spotlight on them. And secondly, if they create a music, how do they monetize? You know, unless it is a win-win for the fans, for the musician or the artist, and for everyone involved in enabling the ecosystem, it's not going to really work. So one of the things we just recently started here at MasterCard, you know, and I feel very good about it. We call it the MasterCard Artist Accelerator, right? Yes. Where it's a complete platform where we enable emerging artists to sign up. They will get tools and technologies to better create music or to create better music. They will get mentoring. They will get a lot of less, you know, teaching in terms of not only how to create good content, but also how do you market your content. Yes. And Web3, particularly the new technology and thing which is coming, enables ownership of content in unprecedented ways, which is terrific. And also some of the things like how do you mint an NFT? How do you have a value proposition around that NFT and so on? This is something which is very powerful. And we just announced it at the Consumer Electronics Show, also called as CES in Vegas, at the beginning of January. And the kind of response we are getting it is absolutely been superb. It's not only great for the artists and for the fans to be able to discover the kind of music that they deserve to really find out, it's also great for the brand because the brand is seen there in a positive light. And because people are passionate about music, they see a brand doing good in that passion area, they start feeling good and positive about the brand. And it's not just a feeling, we actually measure very clearly what the connections are, what the impacts are, etc. So that's something that you say is absolute. It makes a ton of sense. Now, let me just ask you one more thing, which is in terms of, you know, brands, like, you know, taking off my point on this MasterCard Brand Accelerator, brands can either tap into existing music. I've seen sometimes in the past, like Citibank has beautifully tapped into old music And they had campaigns about 4 or 5 years back, like, the songs like Singing in the Rain and all that. They were using as a background to their songs and even the settings. It was powerful. It was really, really beautiful. Or equally powerfully, one can create music as well. Now, how can artists help provide experiences that bring consumers closer to the things that they love? Any thoughts?
Yeah, I think that is the modern day artist now. Gone are the days where you go in the studio, release the record, do a tour, and go home. You really have to engage with your audience, and they want to know about the creative process, how it was made, what were you feeling at the time, where are you now, what are you eating tonight? The social media has really brought the audience closer to the artist. But the artists that you're speaking about, the emerging artists or the artists that are not necessarily in those mainstream genres, it's a great way to make sure that your product in your music is getting to the audience, creating experiences, inviting them to sessions, inviting them to sort of more unique settings where they can hear the music. And this is a great way also for artists to partnership with brands, I feel. Having a very unique, lovely setting where audiences could come and have a sort of an evening with, if you like, with a particular artist is great for a brand that's sort of involved in that event, but also wonderful for the artist to maintain their core audience, because now there is so much music out there and so many artists, that it's really about those experiences. And I think it's the same with brands, from corporate to luxury, whatever the product is. It's about what experience am I getting from this? Now everybody's tightening their belts. They're not spending money on everything and anything. You've got to make sure that there's value added to whatever a consumer is engaging in.
Absolutely. And I think the value adding, either in terms of emotional value or tangible material value, call it whatever, I think that's going to be very critical. Now, a lot of chatter has been there in the recent past about Chat GPT. And the artificial intelligence is really coming in a big way, and people have been noticing it. I've written about it 2 years back in my book, that new technologies are going to be humongously disruptive. And I gave an example of this AI engine called Endel, which has signed a contract with the record label to produce 20 songs. And it can produce like that in a moment, right? Now, the point is, with all these new technologies coming, particularly artificial intelligence, which is capable of composing some kind of music, it may not be original music at this point in time. Is it going to be a threat to the industry, or is it going to be an enablement and an opportunity for the industry?
It's interesting. Where there is threat, there is opportunity, is the way that I see it. The threat is going to be in making sure that the artist or whatever, AI works with knowledge of something, so it has to be based off of something initially. So whatever it's being based off of, make sure that is being credited, that is being giving its royalties, its rights, or whatever. Technology is a great way. Now seeing people create music that are non-verbal and maybe can't move, but create music with their eyes, for example, just using an iPad and looking at different parts of the screen. That's a great benefit of technology. It's wonderful to know that technology is opening the access to music to lots of different types of people. So I think the threat, it seems scary, but I think we need to make sure whatever steps go forward, we make sure that it's ring-fenced and we make sure that it's supporting the creators behind. But as we've seen, even through the pandemic, we realized that we were going to be locked in and locked down longer than we had hoped. Concerts started doing streaming. People were buying, virtual tickets and watching a concert online. But as we come out of it, nothing beats that human interaction. And I think that's going to be the thing that we need to hold on to with sound and with music. Yes, we can make machines that will do the same thing. I can go shopping now and not meet a human being, but if I can't scan a particular item, I need a human being. There's always going to be a need. And I think that we need to make sure that we engage in the human side of music making. And that's where the artists will help with those experiences, with bringing people into the music making and showing how it's done. So there's opportunity. There's a lot to be done to make sure that industries work together, and partnerships, collaboration is really, really important. But yeah, it feels scary right now because it's very new.
I know. And one of the things I feel is that typically people who are very creative are not necessarily very technology savvy.
Mm.
And I think that with these technologies coming in, and if they know how to use and leverage those technologies, it can be incredibly powerful and maybe take their music itself to a different level. So just imagine, like, when I was very young, at that time, I don't recollect there was anything called a synthesizer. But when a synthesizer has come, suddenly it did substitute so many instruments. You still needed all those instruments, but the synthesizer and the whatever the thing was called, keyboard, you could actually play many instruments on that, and it enhanced, and it gave rise to one man orchestra, one woman orchestra kind of a thing. And most recently, I saw there was a brilliant what you call software. By the way, I don't get paid by this company. I'm just saying for full disclosure. But I've seen it called GeoShred.
Yeah.
And GeoShred allows you to play instruments on your iPad. So for $20, you get an instrument literally, and then you have to practice. It's you have to rewire your brain. But actually, I could already start creating simple tunes using that. It was pretty fascinating, and how you can sort of indulge yourself in. And what I'm thinking is that when all these technologies are coming in, as marketers, we have an opportunity to connect the dots between those technologies and the artists. Maybe there's an opportunity, like, for example, banks, they do something called financial education. Maybe brands, which are in the passion music category, have to do technology education for musicians, which is what one of our attempts is through the MasterCard Artist Accelerator. I know, and that we're going to teach them and enable them quite a bit. But there is, I think, a lot of opportunity there. But talking about another aspect, which is, in this day and age, you cannot do everything by yourself as a brand. As an artist, you cannot do everything by yourself. And as an association like yourselves, who are bringing the entire ecosystem together, you cannot do it by yourself. You need the artists, you need the brands, etc. So partnerships is going to be the key to make the whole things work. Mm-hmm. And in fact, one of the things I have written in my book is to say that, when people are being bombarded by anywhere between 3,000 and 5,000 commercial messages every day, they just tend to tune off. There are estimations of up to 10,000 messages a day, and it's not exaggerated. But it's impossible for you to process. Those people are tuning out. So the new way to cut through the clutter and to connect with the consumer, convey your message, engage them, and influence them to make their decisions and preferences in favor of your brand experiences is something which is very critical. And your previous point was very right. You need that human connectivity, you need that human interaction, and AI or any technology is not going to substitute it, at least in the foreseeable immediate future. But the point is, sponsorships and partnerships are going to be very, very critical. Now, from your point of view, what do you think the music industry needs right now from brands, or what opportunities are there for brands to achieve a beautiful transformation where everything comes together?
Yeah, I think partnerships is so important. And it's even more than the partnership, it's the collaboration. Gone are the days where you just sort of throw money at a situation and go and do what you're doing. It is a collaboration so that the brand really is invested in what it's doing. With the music industry, I think you've tapped it on the head there. Education is very, very important so that when new things are evolving and coming, people are ready to receive it also. That's where the education comes from. And also to make sure that all the different elements of what feeds into the music industry are being looked after so that the industry can thrive. So I think that can go from making sure that education is taken care of, as in music education, through to supporting emerging artists, but also artists that have been established, aren't quite mainstream, but are also doing amazing work. And they are the creatives really that are pulling on new technologies and really pushing the boundaries. I think sponsorships and partnerships for that level of artistry is really important, and we should be seeing more of it. I think it really sort of pushes the industry out to a wider consumership as well. And then making sure that the music that is used in these partnerships is music that will keep resonating. We keep hearing about people saying churning out records or churning out pop records, or 100 tunes being uploaded to streaming platforms a day. It is very noisy out there. How do we make sure, and that's just human creations, how do we make sure that music continues to resonate with the consumers I think those partnerships will be sort of the most beneficial for both parties.
Absolutely. And in fact, coming out of Grammy Awards just 2 days back, the music was magical. The funny thing is, my ear is not trained well enough to understand the lyrics. I don't even catch 90% of the lyrics. I don't even listen to the lyrics. I just listen to the music. I think that's how my brain is wired. And the different genres, and this year, particularly hip hop, has been featured very prominently. It's the 50th year of hip hop. And my God, you just can't sit in your seat. It's so magically, it gets you energized and excited, and you're sort of stomping your feet and all. It's pretty fantastic. Now, what can we look forward to? I know this coming Saturday, and I'm going to be there at the Brits, looking forward to it. So what should we be expecting from Brits this year?
Well, yep, you can guarantee there's going to be some electric performances. We've got amazing artists like Lewis Capaldi. We've got Harry Styles. So many amazing. Stormzy will be there. And I think the great thing about it is the music itself does hit you, especially when you're in the room. But equally, as you're watching on TV, we're broadcasting on a Saturday for the first time. It's usually midweek. So everybody's really excited about that. And also we have an amazing partnership with YouTube, so it can be streamed globally outside of the UK on YouTube. So the whole world can get to enjoy British music on Saturday night. And also we have highlights from the red carpet. So making sure, again, experiences, making sure it's more than just a TV show or more than just an award. You're really getting to know the artists, see the artists, and see more than just the stage. You're going to get to see around the whole of the O2 and the red carpet. Mo Gilligan is our host this year. So I think it's really, really exciting. And it's been a great year for British music. For the first time, we had all British music in the top 10 charts here in the UK. So everybody's buzzing and can't wait to all get together. So yeah, you're in for a treat for sure.
Very much looking forward to. Can you repeat who is hosting the event this year?
Mo Gilligan.
Got it. Thank you. That's very exciting, and can't wait to be there in London this weekend, and very much looking forward to. This is something which is fantastic. And one last thing I want to mention, ask you rather, is, I have seen clearly a movement, at least in the last, I would say, 10 years, of music being much more inclusive.
Yeah.
And much more diverse. And that's, I think, which is very good, right? It's not sort of all not straight-jacketed into one single, prototype or a stereotype. And it's been really fantastic. And just share a couple of thoughts around what you think about inclusion in the world of music. And something which is it's a core decency value for humanity, if you were to really think about it.
Yeah.
But then it did not happen 10 years back as much as, for example, it is happening today, thank God. Just if you can share a few thoughts on that would be great.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's always an interesting discussion and debate because it's something that we know should just exist. We shouldn't even have to be talking about it. But a lot of sort of the inclusion work that we do, and equity, and making sure that all protected characteristics are acknowledged, heard, and celebrated, is the fact that we're having to unlearn a lot of things that we didn't even know we'd learned. I think that's a lot of the process, and education is so important. And so any opportunity that we get internally as a team, we make sure that there is an element of EDI learning, because sometimes you don't even realize biases that we carry. We don't realize sort of what we've been seeing for years, even as an industry or just as a race, in the different adverts we see and things like that we actually need to look deeper, make sure we've got representation, make sure that we're hearing all voices around the table when decisions are being made. And it's really, I'm glad for it, but it's something that in every single move you make now, you have to stop, double check. It's like stop, learn, listen, and then go again. And I think it's really important to do so. And we make sure every step of the way that that's happening, and also being happy to evolve. Sometimes we make mistakes and you have to say, something's not right here. How do we evolve and make a change and make sure we don't go back there again? And I think that's something that I'm so glad as an organization, the BPI does. And I think that we also personally need to do every day in our walk, just double check ourselves. Was that the right thing to say? Was that the right thing to do? And hopefully there will get to a point that we don't have to think about it. It's second nature.
I know, and that's something the way it exactly has to be, and I hope the speed of the transformation will only accelerate in terms of inclusion. And it's a basic, as I said, basic decency factor for the humanity. And also, I believe at Grammy Awards this year, there was the first transgender person who has got the award, which is brilliant to see. And we have been at Mastercard a long time supporter of diversity and inclusion, and we have been a sponsor of Pride Parade. We have launched a card called True Name Card, specifically focused for the transgender population. And a lot of people criticized us, to be absolutely candid. But we said, look, we believe in a value, and we'll stand by that value, and that's exactly what we have been doing. And it's not only a decent human value, but it's also a question of, is it good for the business? Absolutely. When you are seen as a good company, as a decent company, people will back you.
Yes.
You follow your purpose very methodically and very sincerely and with a committed fashion. Profits will follow. That will absolutely happen. But on that note, YolanDa, thank you so very much for your insights and perspective. It's a pleasure talking to you, and looking forward to seeing you this Saturday in London. And to the audience, folks, thank you very much. I would love to get your feedback and your suggestions. What is working for you? How can I make it better for you? Who do you want me to get onto this, show? And I'll make every effort to get them. And I have been trying to do that, and so far successful in 13 episodes. And I would love to get your feedback and suggestions on that. And please share your thoughts, and would love to continue engaging with you all. And so with that, thank you very much. Please stay safe, be well, and look forward to seeing you all again soon. And YolanDa, thank you very much again.
Thank you, Raj. And thank you as well to Mastercard. We absolutely love working with you, and the partnership and collaboration is just fantastic. So thank you all.
Thank you very much. And that's very mutual feeling from our side too. As I said, it's a 25-year partnership, and we truly value that. Thank you so much. Take care. Bye-bye.